Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a curious MIDI rack and how to build it. It can be used with drum rack, it can be used with any software instrument you want to drop in with it. I say it's curious because it's kind of an ARP but not an ARP. It's also a round robin device when used with drum rack, and we'll look at that as well. And it can be used to create these very interesting sequences. So I'll just show you an example now with drift here. We'll just listen to that. And there's a short example where I've used it as a round robin, and that was one of my aims. And that's coming up with some drums there, just to give you an example of how you can literally round robin through samples. Now, I've built something like this before in the past, which I used on drum rack, but that was integrated into drum rack and wasn't as flexible as this. So this allows you to just drop it in and use it with any instrument really. Okay, let's have a quick listen then, and we'll look how it works and how finally you can build it for your music. As I mentioned, and I'll leave a link to this up here, this is quite a long time ago now, I built this rack and I called it a drum rack sequencer. And effectively you could, using the controls, you could control how the playhead here moves through the samples in drum rack. So if I adjust this, we'll get different sequences. And I could also add some variation into this as well. You can see I could modulate this. So it was a way of playing back these samples in here in a fixed manner, but every time it was a different fixed manner, or a different sequence if you like. Anyway, that was the idea here. The only thing was it was integrated into an instrument rack, and you couldn't use this with anything else but drum rack, and you'd have to change out the drum racks here. So let's come away from that now and have a look what we have here. And here we have this purely MIDI instrument rack. So it's a MIDI device. That means you can drop anything after it. Here I've got a core kit, another drum rack, and I can simply just press play on the keyboard. Sorry, press a note on the keyboard. I'll go through very quickly what's going on here. We've got, as we saw in the last one, a method of influencing how the playhead moves through these samples here. 3 controls. Then these ones will come to in a second when we look at use with an instrument like drift. But effectively you have an ARP. So I can speed this up. It's all synced. I can hold the ARP or turn it off. And I have some various ARP controls here. These are not so relevant on a drum rack, but they're useful on instruments like drift. Anyway, so I can adjust this and round robin through the samples here. This one here called Twister just adds a these are like fixed values, but this one adds a variation to them. If I adjust this, I can influence how these two are positioned just to get a few more permutations, more possibilities. Okay, so that was the idea, to have a method of round robining through these samples here. Now this value here, the 6, is the range from bottom to top, and this is the number of steps here. The robin is the number of steps. So if I set this back to 0, it should just go. It'll miss the last one because, oh no, it's working. Sometimes it's a bit quirky. Sometimes it misses the last one. Just the way Ableton works. So we can go through in a straight line, or by adjusting any of these values, I can drop this one down. This number of steps I can drop down to 1 or 2, 3, and it'll start giving me different combinations of sequence. Okay, and as I say, this one then alters them. How these 3 steps play back. So you can round robin through samples. You can create these sequences with drum rack. That was the idea. Okay, so now as it's a MIDI effect rack, now we can come out of here. We can go into drift, and we can see we can now use it as a sequencer, an ARP stroke sequencer, using the same principles, but to generate notes here. Now I've got this set up in mono, but I just can play around, and I'll get different variations of the ARP sequence. Now I've got an ARP playing here, and I can adjust the ARP rate, the style, of course, all these things. I can set a scale. Let's have a look at the rack itself. Here we go. So I have this scale function built into the rack, so I can choose which scale I want to lock my notes into. So I can play anything on the keyboard, and it'll always be locked into the scale. And you can just seek out these rhythms and sequences. Super Locrian. Okay, so same thing. Adjust these. I start to influence how the ARP is playing back. So yeah, so this is a MIDI device. As I say, you can drop anything after it, use it with anything. We have, let's go through it very quickly then. As I say, we have these 3 controls affect the sequence playback. Here the scales we've discussed. The ARP, it's just an ARP basically, but these are having an influence on how the ARP plays back. We can transpose, just an ARP, so all the ARP functions are there. Here's the ARP, we're just controlling this ARP. And we have control over the note length here. So this is this note length function here, the gate in the ARP, so the length of the note. We can control it, we can also modulate it. So we get a different note length on every playback. And this one here is basically the swing here, so we can add a little bit of swing, different styles of swing for the ARP, and this one's the whole. So that's it, nothing more. The elements we have in the rack, we have the arpeggiator. We're using expression control here, which I'll come to in the build, to add this randomness to our sequence. And then we've got a couple of pitch controls here, which are used for various functions. We'll come to that as well, and the scale. Not too difficult to put together. Not really a lot of mapping either. It's quite quick. Let's have a look then how it's put together, I think. You're going to need, to begin with, a MIDI effect track. You find that here, MIDI effects, MIDI effect track. You just drop that onto a MIDI channel. Then we can open that up here with this icon. I've kept my original names. We're going to need, there we go. We're going to need, so 14 of these. As I say, you can rename them here. Right click, rename, if you want to change the names, or you can use the names that appear when you do the mapping. It's up to you, your choice. So that's the first thing we're going to need. Then we're going to put some elements in, then we'll set them up, and finally we'll do the mapping and then test everything, make sure it's okay. So the first thing we're going to need then is an arpeggiator here. We'll drop that one in. Then we have an expression control, this one here, also goes into the rack. Then we're going to need 2 of these pitch devices here, 1 and 2, and finally the scale here. scale device. We just drop those in. So we'll just go through these very quickly and set them up. I don't think there's anything we need to do on the ARP because we'll be mapping most of this. So that's okay. We can close that one, or we'll just leave it open, it's not so much. Now the expression control we have to set up here. And we're going to start on the top one here. Just click on here. We're going to change this to increment here. And we need to then map this to our pitch here, this pitch here. So that now controls pitch. And we will map this in a minute so we don't have to do anything here. But we want to make this a linear curve here, not logarithmic. So we'll have that as linear. And that's everything set up on this part. We need to go to a second one just below here. And we're going to change this to random now, here. And we're going to choose, as our target, we're going to choose the gate here. So we'll select that. This we want to have as bipolar. This one we will map. This one we will leave as well. The rest we don't have to adjust. So those two are set up as well. Now let's look at our first pitch. And we're going to set this up to behave like a standard piano. So we are going to restrict the range here to A0. We have to drag this. So we'll restrict the range to A0. That's typically the lowest key on a piano. And we'll set this to a range of 88 semitones. And we'll leave it at block. And that one's set up now. So that means we can only adjust the pitch with this here over this range. Okay, the next pitch we want to look at, we want to change this first of all to limit. Now this pitch has a controlling function, and we're going to set this one here also to A0. And also 88. Okay, so these two perform a function together just to restrict the notes coming through the whole rack. It's a little bit tricky. I won't go into it in too much detail. Just set them up like this and it should work. I had to think about how to get this to work, and it's difficult to explain the concept. Okay, so the scale, we don't have to do anything here. This will also be mapped. Okay, so that's all the elements in. So we can just go through and do our mapping now. So for the twister, we're going to go into our increment here. Make sure on increment, not the rand here. And we're going to map this curve to the twister. So I'll just go through these. Let's try that again. So that's the first one. I'm going to go through them in the list I have here so that it's easier to do. Then we're going to go to the scale function here. We'll close the arpeggiator for a second. We'll go to the scale and we'll map the device on. This button here, we're going to map to scales on here. So we have the option to turn this on and off if we don't want it. And then we have the internal scale here, this one, sorry, here. We're going to map also to scales on here. That's how we select our scale and how we turn the device on or off if we don't want it. We might not want it with, if we're using a drum rack as an example. And then we have this scale roots here, which we'll map here. So those ones are done. Then we're going to go to our expression control here, and we have the modulation amount for number 1, which is this value here. We're going to map to round. Doesn't pick up for some reason. We'll try that again. That one we will map there. And Robin, we're going to map the steps here. So those are now set up. Then we have the arpeggiator we need to open again. And we will go with our, we're going to need our note length, which is this gate. We're going to map to our note length here. Then we go to our expression control again, and we're going to go to the second one here, the rand, and here we're going to map the modulation amount to this gate mod here. For some reason it doesn't like that, and it's something with the expression control. Okay, so that one we're going to map here, and then the random amount here, this one, we're also going to map to the gate mod. So as we increase the gate modulation, we're also increasing the randomness of the note length as well. Okay, so those two are in. Then we'll open up our, then we go to our ARP here, we have our ARP, and we will map here the transpose distance, which is this value here. We're going to map to, we'll just go through now, this is quite easy, this one here. We'll map the steps to the ARP steps. We have the ARP style, which is here. We'll map to the ARP style. The ARP rate is here, the ARP rate. We have the ARP on, which is basically this device on button again. We'll map that here. Then we have, I think we have this, just double check, I think we have most of them. We have the hold here, of course. This goes to our ARP hold here, and the groove goes here. So let me just check, I think that's everything. Yeah, so that's everything mapped. Now we need to change some of these constraints. I'll put up a screenshot now. You can take your time, pause the video, change them to the values in the screenshot, and then everything should work. So after that we'll come back and test the rack, make sure things are working. So let's have a look, see if everything's working on the rack. We'll close this and we'll close these all up. Now we need to find a drum rack. We'll try a drum rack first. I'll just put this one in here. So hopefully now, okay, so we'll set this to the bass now. So that seems to be working okay. So you might have to just twiddle these around when you first built the rack. Set this up in this bass format. So this is my bass effectively. I have the ARP off, I have the scales off, and I'm just literally playing a note. Now put the ARP on. We'll start to move through the sequence. Try the twister. Let's drop this down so we only have a smaller range. So this one, as I say, controls how far you move up through here, and this is the number of steps. So if I put this on 1, it'll only move here. Nothing will happen if I adjust this. If I increase the number of steps now to 2 and then play with this, I can adjust where these 2 beats play. If I have 3 steps, then I can adjust where these 3 beats play. Okay, so that seems to be working. Let's try it with, turn that off. Let's try it with just drop a drift in. I'll just leave it on the, maybe just adjust this. Okay, so let's put the ARP hold on. Play an ARP in. We changed this. Let's open this up. So we can change our scale here, our root, change the rate. adjust our start, and now we can influence it with this. Transpose it. See if we can modulate the gate. Okay, everything seems to be working. As I say, it's a bit of fun, but it's quite useful. I hope it's useful in your music as well, and that this video has been useful. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.